I forgot to YouTube. So, I sound probably okay right now. And if I put you guys out there as I've done before, yeah, this has usually sounded okay. But let's plug in. The main reason that I'm doing this, really hope the weather was correct and the rain lightens up. Yeah, we should be connected now to the Synco microphone, which I'm gonna just check something really quickly. Let's actually see if I can use my watch to do this. Let's go to all apps. The weather app. Because he said it wasn't gonna rain. But, yeah, and let's see what. I might have to actually not do this. Great. Or, dual-wheeled umbrella. Let's see. Sure, UV. Really? Now you've changed to rain until 5 p.m. I thought the weather used to be a little more accurate the days before. Well, okay. Yeah, we'll try breaking out the umbrella here. Which means that I won't be able to have you guys out as far. We'll try and have just a little bit. Unless... Oh! Trying to feel if it's raining out here or not. Anyways, yeah, this is mostly a microphone test, but I was going to turn it into some form of topic. Switch hands holding the camera, because my left hand, hey, we got one person watching. Hello. Oh. I forgot one thing. I need to click really quickly. Okay. So we should be back. Okay. So this microphone is for a friend. Go ahead and extend you guys out. There we go. Yeah, like that. So it's for a friend. He wants to start a podcast. And I had made a suggestion of a different microphone that seemed good. But he said, that's maybe something to consider. First, I need a location. No, I disagree hard. Location is not more important than audio. Which... Okay, we should be off of noise canceling so that we can hear what this sounds like. Yep. This is sounding probably not as good. I don't know. But, yeah. Now we click noise canceling back on. At least you should be. Yeah, noise. Wait, what? I had that backwards, I think. This is... I'm going to have to remind myself. See if I can fish out the box here. Getting a bit heavy, but if I hold it part way down, I probably also don't have to talk as loud as I used to. Look both ways when crossing the street. Let's see. Aha! We have the box. Yep, you guys are going to get a little bit twisted. Great. The instruction manual is not in the box. And my receipt. Oh, you're going upside down. It's telling me to rotate. There we go. One last check. Yeah. I'm going to bring you guys way in so that I can do this a little bit easier. Let's look inside my bag for the instructions, which are probably back at the house, which is okay. Because that's where I opened it. That's where... Yeah, okay. So... there's one last thing that I can try. How to tell if Synco microphone is in noise cancellation mode. Make better video. Just brought up a YouTube result. That's great. Well, pretty sure a solid light means noise cancellation mode. So we'll continue on like this, giving it a good test. Didn't mean for this to be a weather test. They don't mention anything about being weatherproof. But there is a chance that you could wrap these in a bag or something. It might make more noise. You might still be able to get some sound out of it. And I say that because the Band-Aid trick that I've used as wind muffs on my little camera before and my phones, where you tape a Band-Aid over the microphones and it negates the wind noise and you still sound fine. In that case, there may be some speech enhancement going on where I don't know if any phone software can do speech enhancement with this device. Let's get that off of my chest so you're rocking less. What was I going to... Oh, because the back of the Band-Aid, maybe there's slightly porous, but it's nowhere near as porous as the wind muff on the Synco microphone here, which I have set to think it's level 3 on the volume. I wish it had a way to do individual volume levels, but it doesn't seem to. The big reason that I got this for my friend is, I sent him, I think I sent him a link to a Hollyland microphone that I had seen ads for, and I had watched 1 or 2 videos on, and people were saying seemed to be good for the price and like not too expensive, and it seemed to be like cheaper than some of the other systems that I had been looking at. But he was saying that could be something to consider, but I need a location. And audio is more important than your location. Location comes second, I would say, always, because if your audio sounds bad, nobody's gonna watch. Now, granted, you don't need super high production value, expensive microphones to get decent audio. This, in my tests last night, were sounding pretty good. Not the best. I was able to get a little bit of clipping. Maybe I clipped there, I don't know. There were a few things, and maybe a slightly compressed sound, but it was definitely a sound that I would be happy using in situations where I otherwise couldn't use audio from directly my device. Now, again, my phones have sounded good from their direct audio over the years. Not the best, but good. And even at distance on my selfie stick, they've sounded good too. And so I'm sure, hopefully this sounds slightly better than some of those at distance on selfie sticks. And it certainly sounds better than the wired microphone from my JLab earbuds that I used to use back in the day. Whew. Yeah. Let's Talk is that old. But yeah, audio is very, very important, especially when you're going to have more than one person talking on the thing. I don't know how well phones do at picking up multiple people. I do know that my OnePlus phone, OnePlus 9 Pro, when I recorded the video, I switched my mom's gummy bears. The audio on that was a nightmare to work with, and even when I was done, it didn't sound as great as it could. I don't remember if I had speech enhancement turned on or not for that video. I remembered that was a thing a little bit after the video, but couldn't remember whether it was on by default or not. And 2 people talking, or there's been 1 or 2 other videos where I had issues with me being a little bit louder than the other person. We only recorded on a single mic because that's all I have. And so we had to then, I had to edit in post to fix their volume. So I was worried about some of his guests being quiet and him being loud, and so then them not getting picked up as much. And the easiest way to solve that is to have 2 microphones and mic your people up. If you're going to have more than 2 people, this is only a 2 mic system, you can still make it work. You can have 1 for you and then have 1 for your guests. Maybe possibly pair up the 2 louder people. That's all stuff that can be tested at some point. And, I think it might be fun to get with my friend and run a few tests on this sort of a thing. Ooh. We got, don't support littering, but there's a box of, or what used to be a box of gyoza on the ground. Love gyoza. So, these were at NPS for I think I paid around $30 for them or so. And normally on Amazon, they were coming up at 46 or something. So not as discounted as much. Maybe if I waited, then there could have been a sale on them. I think I had seen them a few weeks ago when they were having a sale, but I wasn't thinking about getting any because I don't need something like this. I want to get one of the Sony systems that can pipe directly into my camera. That's going to be nice. And I don't do a lot of stuff on my phone anymore. Well, I kind of do, but I'm trying to avoid using my phone for filming stuff. So, but my friend, on the other hand, he is going to use his phone. He's trying to do this as cheaply as possible. And for what he's trying to do, which is a podcast about religion, I think just filming on his phone is going to be good enough. He's got an older phone, not the greatest cameras. It's like or maybe not too old, but it's a OnePlus Nord something. It'll be fine enough. Turn on the selfie camera, or I'm going to see if there's a way to work into, here we got a little bit of a breeze. See how good this thing is doing. When blowing on it the other day, it seemed to, just move it down a bit because I keep bumping it with my chin. It did pick up a little bit of my light blowing, and then it picked up my hard blowing on it. But then compared to when I took off the cover, it was like, whoo, yes, that is very different. And having the cover on helps. The cover, I think, I don't know, maybe if it was a little bit thicker or something could be nice, but it is really nice that they're included, and this will do a good job for its size, way better than not having the cover on. But yeah, where was it going? So yeah, doing some testing for different situations and things and helping him get set up. I think it's going to be fun. But just filming on his phone is going to be good. Oh, yes. So if I can work out a system where he is able to, where he is able to use the rear cameras of his phone, that will be nice. Right now I'm using an app called Prism Live because the default YouTube app didn't work with these external microphones for shorts. Or I don't know if I tested a live stream in there with it. But recording a short, it did not detect this microphone plugged in by USB-C. So that was definitely going to be a no-go for this test. So I'm using Prism Live, which interestingly enough, there was, you can remove the watermark, but all you need to do is allow notifications. Ooh, the wind is picking up a bit. I don't know. And looking under like the notification settings in my phone, when I went to enable them to turn off that watermark, it seemed like it was just notifications for when you're live, other things like that. But this does have a live control feature where you can supposedly control this thing from another phone. I don't know if it's only while you're streaming or if it's also while you're recording, because then that would solve the issue of not being able to see the rear camera on his phone, but also being able to use it. Either that, or I was thinking of a janky solution of a dollar store mirror put by the screen, so then you can look at the mirror and see his phone, but simple enough to just use the selfie camera. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a reason that it exists, and there is a reason that it's not as good of quality. I believe selfie cameras are a little smaller than rear cameras on phones, but that's because of the form factor they have to fit in. That was a slightly noisy engine. That'll be a cool test to see how the microphone handled that with noise cancellation turned on. Please tell me I have noise cancellation turned on. It's a little bit chilly today. But yeah. So aside from that, interesting discussions that I've had in the friend group. I'm in a group with my roommate and who rents a room from my parents. And then there's the friend who's doing a podcast, and two other guys. And the friend who's doing a podcast is married, along with, so 3 people in the group are married. Me and my roommate aren't. But some of the discussion has been like, Are you going to actually get like views? And he just wants to do this for free, for fun, out of the goodness of his heart. He's going to be learning about other people's religions on his podcast, and it's going to be educational for him. And yeah, sure, but it takes time to actually make a podcast. Even if he didn't bother putting in any music, anything, he just hit record, talked for however long with whoever, and then uploaded it straight to YouTube. Like, the time to set that up, yeah, unless, I don't think he's going to be able to keep doing it in that format unless people are actually viewing it online and liking it. Otherwise, it's just going to be better for you to read a Wikipedia article or some books, have a normal conversation with these people without scheduling the time to record them as a podcast, and then spend the time that you saved with your family, with your kids. So I'm going to try and help him start this podcast and actually get it going. But I just think that if it's not having some small amount of success online and getting some people, even if just some friends or family regularly watch, but if like 2 people are watching, it's probably not going to be worth it, I think. I don't know that I would still be doing some of this if very few people. I mean, I kind of do some of this with very few people watching, but I know that I can see growth, and I actually am seeing some growth in the form of subscribers. The view counts are pretty low, especially for my live streams. People say it's a good way to gain viewers. And I say, yeah, sure. I'm sure that works for some people, but for me, I haven't seen a lot of success with that, and that's okay. That's not the main thing that I want to do. I know there's going to be success when I start uploading the pre-recorded, edited things that I actually want to do. Some of the short films and stuff that I will make will get some okay number of views. Hopefully I can make this successful, but yeah, so I don't know. I just think for him in his situation, if it doesn't get some amount of viewership, even if he only got 100 consistent views and let's say 25 reoccurring viewers watching, even if he only got that, I think he would be fine to keep going. But a lot less than that, and I think he's just going to end up in this isn't worth my time. I'm learning lots, but do I really like the steps of pulling out a tripod and setting up the camera, making sure the framing's good? Are my microphones charged? Did I remember to plug them in? Are they set on the right mode for noise canceling or not? All of these little things. Is it set up right? Press record, go, and then upload it, and then not. And I mean, but also you might say, well, if nobody's watching, but if nobody's watching, but he's really just doing it for fun, and he enjoys talking with someone and learning about religion, there's 2 things to add. Well, okay, so if that's really it, and he really for some reason does not care if anybody watches, and if it gets 0 views, and maybe even, well, never mind about that thing I was going to say, but if it gets absolutely 0 views, but he's still having fun learning about religion, and he doesn't care if the recording fails because nobody's watching it, there's nothing to lose, right? I still think he wouldn't want to record it as a podcast, because even then, well, you took time to set up and record it, but let's say your framing accidentally got wrong and you forgot to plug the microphone in, and so it saved you 3 seconds forgetting those things, and it didn't matter. It still took you a whole 10, 20 minutes to set it up, or however long it takes. So there's going to have to be something that he's going to get out of this other than learning about religion. And I'm absolutely positive he's going to come to that realization when he starts. And I'm also going to be prepared to say, and look, here's some things that you have to do, because you're also putting yourself out online and presenting yourself. And the other thing comes when you start forming a community, if he does. you're going to run into the moderation of said community. Maybe he won't care what people say in his comments, but essentially it puts you in the situation where you will have created a community excuse me, and you'll have gotten people discussing down in the comments below, and if people start a war and they start fighting amongst each other, you do have the power to take control and squelch that argument, like block people from talking. And like, are you going to? Plus, there's all the spam and stuff that you kind of have to deal with too. And so it's hasn't been too bad for me, but that's definitely a thing to consider, and especially the space that he's going into, like discussing different religions and stuff. I'm not trying to super discourage him from it. There are just some things that are going to be a potentially annoying reality. And so I'm going to try and help him work through this stuff, but I think it's going to take a little more time than he expects. But finding guests, he says it's going to be pretty easy. He can talk to his co-workers and probably other neighbors and stuff too, maybe. And that's the other thing too, is are all of these people absolutely going to be comfortable being recorded? Because let's say they're not completely comfortable being recorded, and again, you're not making very many views off of this, or at all, nobody's watching it. Well, then you might have a more educational time for yourself just talking with them without the camera, because they'll be more open to sharing some things because they're not talking online. And also, too, he's going to keep it, I think he's going to try and keep it family friendly, like no swearing and stuff. And so, and well, I'm sure for him, he appreciates when people don't swear around him. I can see there might be this thing of where, but you know, if you weren't on the podcast where, oh, you absolutely have to like not do that, or, you know, I'll go in and I'll bleep it out and it's more work for me, but really please don't. Whereas in real life, maybe without the camera rolling, he would be slightly more comfortable with them, you know, because maybe if they swear in real life, there's a little bit less to lose, less work than if they were to on his podcast. And so maybe in real life, you know, there's the possibility of learning something about them because they go off on some expletives about something, where on the podcast they might not, because they know that he's recording it and various reasons. But, so, let's see, what else can I say here about this? And are we still active? I can't. Yes, we are still active. Yay. So, and so location is something that he's talked about, need a location. One friend said Matt Walsh started in his car. That can be an okay location. What else is there? A bit wobbly. Try and stabilize this. I suggested a park bench, like Matt and Tom used to do. Coming into the winter months, though, it's going to be tough to do that on a park bench. So I don't know if he can set up his living room as a space for the podcast. Now, he's got kids, and they're little kids. I think his oldest is, I'm just going to guess, 6, maybe 7. Maybe she's actually younger. Maybe she's only 5, and his youngest is like 2. And, you know, I've met his kids once briefly. I'm not like, you know, I'm sure I'll meet them again in the future and it'll be cool. But like, especially when if I ever go beyond his podcast, which he said, because I bought him these microphones, I can be the first guest. I'm kind of questioning that decision, but I'm going to talk with him and we're going to plan out some things and give him a rough not really, a rough outline, rough schedule of what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. But yeah, so living room, or small chance if there's another room in his house, he could maybe make a set in the garage. That one might be a bit echoey, so I might stray away from that. Wonder how this is doing with that dog barking. In fact, let's turn off noise cancellation. Can you hear the dog? And noise cancellation back on. That looks right to me. So, yeah, that's gonna, and I thought about offering like my studio, but I think I'm a little far away. You'd have to travel here. That would be a bit of work. And then also there are like some other reasons that I kind of don't want that in my studio. I'm not against what his podcast is about, and he's a member of the same church that I am, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I'm not against that. And the idea, I'm not going to be specific, but just some of the things that may go on with the podcast, I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to, like, I can help him make it, and I'll say, yes, I helped make this, but specifically in my studio. And also, I don't think it's going to be the right look that he would be going for with his podcast. You know, like even months ago, I talked about having my mom use her voice and just record some of her blog stuff that she has done. I don't know if she still does it, but because it would get better viewers that way. She had really good things to say. So we'll still do that at some point, but most likely we'll pull the green screen across and be like, here, pick whatever you like as a simple background. Or if, I mean, I got my good camera now, so we could go and record anywhere in the house and it would sound okay. But, and you know, there's some spaces that he could probably rent to, but he's trying to do this for free, for fun. So he can't really spend money on spaces. Yeah, and I can't think of any other locations other than like the car. But also coming towards winter months, that's going to be a bit cold. And then you'd have to have the car running. That's going to use gas. So, yeah, maybe put a little space in the garage if you have a garage out there. I don't know if he does. And, you know, trying to be simple and quick to do, I'm all for that. This is supposed to be simple and quick to do. Let's Talk always has been. It's a thing in between my other stuff while I'm walking to and from work, or, you know, if I have something I really need to say, then I'll probably do this format and walk and I'll go say it. But other than that, you don't need to be like super high production. If he wants to, he can try. There are plenty of podcasts that have different camera angles and things, and they're doing different style of stuff, and that's all cool. He doesn't have to. You know, the only podcast that I really watch is The WAN Show. I love getting my tech news from Luke and Linus and Dan every once in a while. That's cool. So I like that. And it's pretty complicated for them. Not as complicated as one of their regular shoots, I don't think, but they have a lot of stuff set up. And, you know, I might, lighting, probably a selfie ring light would be good enough, and that I've got a few, or can pick one up for really cheap. But that'll be a thing where I more talk with him, because the microphone was a pretty obvious buy, so that if one guest is more quiet than he is, or the other way around, then there's going to be not too much of a worry about both of them being picked up pretty good. I mean, I don't know how this thing handles different talking levels together, but again, that'll be something that will be tested in the near future. What else can I say before I take this stream out? What else is running through all of the things that I've covered on here. Switch hands for a moment. I think, and I think if he wants to add maybe a short intro, maybe a short outro, he can do that. I'll teach him some very basic editing skills so that he can, if he wants to, do that. And then, also, shorts. That's another thing. Editing a podcast into a short can be useful for gaining views, but not also in terms of gaining views. I think it also puts it allows a certain segment to reach a greater audience. If you're just like, wow, that's actually a really good viewpoint, I want more people to hear just that. A minute-long short can do that, whereas 30 minutes to an hour-long podcast isn't necessarily going to do that for some people. They might not want to watch the whole thing, but those little nuggets of information, I forget what it was, but there was something somewhere where if I was certain that this thing was going to give me the exact question I was looking for, I would read it or I would watch it more readily than being uncertain. And I don't remember what it was. And it's the it's the same reason why I don't really read instruction manuals a lot. Like, I will if I can't find the information online, and I do read them, but online. I don't pull out the physical manual and read from there. I go online and I try and find the manual there, and then I use the PDF search function, and I look for exactly the thing that I'm looking for, so that I don't have to sift through all these pages of other stuff that I either already know how to do or I don't care about to find that one thing. Oh, that's how to change modes? Done. I'm changing modes. So it's the same thing with having short versions of his podcast. And, if this gets somewhat successful, he could probably teach his wife. I could also teach his wife a little bit of editing too, so that she could help out. Nothing too crazy or fancy. Just some light editing. I think a little bit of music could be good. But I think that's mostly it for my thoughts on podcasts and podcasting. Other than, I guess I can say I have set up that could work for a 2-person podcast with my Vocaster 2, which I did get for if I were ever to have guests over, recording something through my computer, streaming a game or something. Then, yeah, which is actually for Star Wars Droidworks that I only streamed one bit of, and then a bunch of stuff happened, and me and my friend are really busy, and yeah. So, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. And my friend sees this, hey, let's get you to your first episode of the podcast. I am excited again. I might not be the first one on the podcast, but we'll discuss that. And we'll discuss various reasons why. But I forgot to mention this earlier. Another thing that was really interesting is something came up in our friend group, and he was like, yeah, and I wouldn't want to have you on my podcast because we're members of the same church, so I'd be talking to an echo chamber. I knew immediately that would not be true. And then something brought up something else, and it's like, oh yeah, we believe differently about doing tithing. I brought up an example of that. And then he brought up how he does it. And another friend brought up, and it's like, yeah, look, hey, friend who wants to do podcast, there's 3 different viewpoints from the same religion. So I think structure should be you talk with other people about their religion compared to your religion. And then every once in a while, okay, what about this? Maybe even have it be a segment, and he has little recorded clips ready for each episode. So what about this? And then how do members inside the church feel about this? And then you can have 2 or 3 people that he already knows are members, or some people who he doesn't know are members. Eventually could be an Ask the Audience thing if he gets enough views, but ultimately have a segment where he finds out what other people within inside the church think. And that could even be like a whole entire episode. This episode, we're talking with another member of my same church. I don't know. There's just some ideas. That was a test of this microphone. I'm going to go just a little bit longer because I want to see one more test of how it handles on this busy street here. So let's see. All right. Noise canceling. Ugh. Getting a bit stuffy nose because of how cold it is here. But noise canceling is off, and noise canceling should be on now. I will say in somewhat dark spaces, these were really, really bright, and I wanted to like cover them up with a bit of tape so that they would be less flashy visible on the camera. And seeing as they're not too bright out here, it's overcast, I can see them just fine. I think if it wasn't overcast, I would struggle to see them a little bit, but I could just barely see the indicator lights on them. So I think if we could, 3D printing could work. I don't know 3D printing. We have a friend who does, but he's really busy. But the point is, instead of just tape over it and then you don't worry about it, I would make some kind of a cover so that you could put over the, actually you could make a little sleeve of some kind or something. But having a cover instead of tape that you can take on and off to block out the light from these if you were filming in a dark setting. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys liked this, leave a like down below. Yeah, and I will have, like, when the podcast finally comes out, and maybe as we get closer to it, I will have some more details about that. I think it's going to be fun. If my friend really, really wants to do it, I think he's going to have fun too. But again, the whole time thing, and is that going to be worth it? We'll see. And I'll see you guys in whatever's next. Bye.